As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set.
There comes a time in life when it's time to say goodbye, before things get a little stale.
Hey, some would argue the GameCube was stale ever since its launch, and others are willing to fight to the death for it. Either way, it's time for bigger, better, and more innovative things for Nintendo.
So with that being said, it's time to celebrate the best of a third-place console. And don't forget, we're only taking one game per franchise.
So don't freak out! Hey, I'm Stuttering Craig.
And I'm Handsome Tom.
For ScrewAttack's Top 10 Games.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 243, and it's a very special episode of Remember the Game. And not in like the sense that it's one of those, you know, like a Christmas episode or anything like this week on a very special episode of Family Matters or anything like that. It's an interview episode. We haven't done one of these in a long time. And if you don't know, if you go back in the Remember the Game archives, we've got interviews with Nicholas Pickles, the host of Video and Arcade Top 10, a big reason this podcast exists today. I love that fucking show. Summoning Salt, who is one of the most prolific speed-running documentarian YouTubers out there, a massive YouTube channel all about speed-running. Outstanding quality videos. Definitely recommend checking out Summoning Salt. And we've also interviewed Doug Walsh, a former player guide, strategy guide author who came on the show to talk about what that was like and when he kind of started to see the death of that industry coming and everything. So the reception to all three of those episodes has always been very positive. People seem to like the occasional interview episode, change up the formula. And this week, we've got another one for you. I talked to Stuttering Craig, formerly of ScrewAttack.com fame. And if you didn't watch ScrewAttack back in the day, you youngins, gather around the lemon tree and let me tell you all about it. ScrewAttack launched back in 2006. It was created by Craig and his pal Tom, Handsome Tom, as he went by back then. And they really were one of, if not the OG gaming content creators. They started out with a podcast, and then eventually they became known for stuff like their top 10 countdowns, which is personally what I know them best for. There were the video game vaults. There was the uber popular death battles. They partnered with people like the Angry Video Game Nerd, which is actually how I found ScrewAttack.com in the first place, and they went on to work with Rooster Teeth. There's been a ton of ups and downs, and Craig was there from day one, and eventually he actually got out of gaming content creation altogether. Now he's back in the gaming world. He's relaunched Side Scrollers, his gaming podcast. I've always enjoyed his work. I've always been a fan of the guy, and it was really cool getting a chance to chat with him about the rise and I guess fall of ScrewAttack, hearing about what it was like to be be part of something so big back in the day, why he left ScrewAttack, what he was doing when he did leave, what he's doing now, why he came back. And I even got to pick his brain about playing slam ball a little bit as well. Because if you didn't know that, Craig played slam ball, that fucking trampoline basketball back in, oh man, I remember thinking my ankles were rolling just watching slam ball. So it's going to be a little bit different this week from a traditional episode of Remember the Game, but it was a great change of pace, and I hope you all enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed recording it. If you want to check out Craig's current show, Side Scrollers, you can find it in the description of this podcast, and I will give you a heads up that I myself will be appearing on their show next Friday, April 14th. They stream it live at 11 a.m. Central at youtube.com/@SideScrollersPodcast. Again, link in the description of the show. So if you want to swing by and check that out next Friday and say hi, it'd be cool to see some hot dogs representing in the chat. But for now, I hope you enjoy my chat with Stuttering Craig. Pardon me. We went a lot longer than I expected us to, but that means, in my opinion, that we were having a great conversation. And we'll get to all that in just a minute, because speaking of going longer than expected, it's time for another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro. Dun, 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 dun. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard. Consider this your warning. Listen, our intros are kind of long, but they're fun. We talk video games and stuff. I almost didn't do one this week, but I enjoy doing them. So do most of our listeners. Our listeners enjoy listening to them, according to the feedback. I'm not making that up. I've asked people, do you want me to dump the intro? Majority of people say no. So I'm not just, blowing smoke up my ass. But if you're just here for the Craig interview, you don't want to listen to all the other stuff, skip about 30 minutes up the road. You'll hear some music. We'll be into it's almost always right around that 32, 33 minute mark. We'll get into the conversation. So you can skip ahead if you want to. I got to get my plugs out of the way. It's how we keep the bills on around here. We have merch. We have hoodies, t-shirts, coffee mugs, posters, all kinds of stuff, rocking incredible art drawn by my man Joe from 4545creative.com. You can find it all at rememberthegamepodcast.com if you're interested. Great way to support the show. And of course, if you don't like clothes, I get it. Summer's right around the corner. You don't want to be hot. You can always just support us on Patreon. Subscriptions start at $2 a month, and you can get yourself up to 4 extra podcasts every week. Every second Monday, we have Purple Monkey Dishwasher, our new Simpsons show hosted by myself and Mark McHugh. Every Tuesday, I release The Rambling Idiot, where I talk about my comedy career, TV, movies, sports. I reviewed WrestleMania this week, whatever else I feel like talking about. Friday, it's Game Patch, which is my modern gaming news show, where I talk about the biggest stories in modern video games. I talk about new releases, give you some sales picks, etc. And Expansion Pass drops every Thursday, and that's a different gaming podcast every week. We do rankings, we look back at characters, consoles, genres, generations. We do some comedy episodes. There's a fucking ton of modern game reviews over there. This past week on Expansion Pass, it was episode 156, and we borrowed the Am I the Asshole gimmick from Reddit, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. Listeners submitted their Am I the Asshole gaming questions, and I judged them accordingly. And the one and only Maury Povich gave me a hand, even though he doesn't know that. It was a really good time, and as is becoming tradition, here is a sneak peek of last week's episode of Expansion Pass, Am I the Asshole? Ronan said, when I play Shredder's Revenge with my daughter and she grabs the pizza and I had less health than her, I get extremely annoyed because that was always the rule when playing other Teenage Mutant Turtle games with friends 20 plus years ago. Am I the asshole? Well, that one is very simple, Gus. That one is like, yeah, if your daughter's taking the pizza but she's got full health, dude, I'll call somebody. I don't give a fuck if it's my daughter, if it's my goddamn grandson. I don't give a fuck if it's Shaylee. If Molly could play video games, I would say it to her. If you do not, I don't give a fuck if you have yet to comprehend the concept of math and you can't tell whose health meter is higher and lower than the other one. If you take the pizza and you do not have the lowest amount of health and you don't at least apologize and say, I'm sorry, I did not realize the pizza was there, you are the asshole. But if you give someone shit for taking the pizza when you needed it more than that, you are not
asshole.
Not even close. Not even close, Joe. If anything, with all due respect, quite frankly, your daughter is an asshole. So that's now available on our archives. And this week, it's Expansion Pass 157. And it is arguably the most anticipated episode of Expansion Pass of all time. The Remember the Game Super Nintendo Draft. About 6 months ago, 4 of my guests came on the show and drafted 10 NES games each, fantasy football style. Then our listeners voted for who drafted the best lineup. And it was instantly a smash hit. One of our most popular episodes of Expansion Pass. And I've heard your demand, and we are finally bringing it back. 4 of our regulars going to be drafting 10 Super Nintendo games each, and then you'll get to vote on who drafted the best lineup. It was a fucking blast to record. I think you're all really going to enjoy it. So that goes live tomorrow. So again, subscriptions start at $2 a month. You get new podcasts every week, instant access to hundreds of ad-free bonus podcasts that are archived and waiting for you, plus access to our Discord, the chance to vote in our Patreon poll every month, the ability to submit comments to be read on our shows. You can DM with me, and you even get a shout-out and get to hear me mispronounce your name, like I'm about to do to most of these people. A huge thank you to our newest Patreons, Devilio, Arpu, and Ass Taken. Good pull. Yuan Tai. Sorry, Yuan. I'm not sure if I said that right. John, you guys should be used to that by now. John Russell, Jaws That Bite, Die Cats. Green Bastard from Parts Unknown. And I know you only use that thing, so I'd use that fucking voice, but I love it. Brian Ramligan, Preston Dylan Tourette, Chad Christopherson, Rage Chan, PBQ, Rudolphin 1460, which is actually my phone number. That's kind of creepy. Ricky Richards, JC, maybe? JSY. Rob44, Mike Green, hopefully the defenseman, Brian Granados, Riley Jorfi, Brandon Murphy, Pegorino, Andrew Pacheco, and Rid Cobalt Scout. Dude, that was a bad batch of shout-outs. But just wear it as a badge of honor if I said your name wrong. I only do that to people I like. Thank you all so much for the support, and welcome to Remember the Game Industries. You can find all that at patreon.com/rememberthegame. And don't forget, 5% of our Patreon gets donated to charity. We're doing a max of $5,000, and after 4 months, we're at like $2,200. So, like, it's going to be a big 24-hour stream this year. It's fucking awesome. So thank you all for that. And we offer annual subscriptions that'll save you your 12th month if you're interested. And you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/rememberthegame whenever I have time to get over there. That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow some of you by blowing in some cartridges. It is our opening segment on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our patrons, usually gaming related, but not always. And we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
Let's blow. Our first blower this week is Todd Usher, who said, hey, I've got 2 questions, but feel free to only use one. First, have you tried the face scan on MLB The Show 23 yet? It is starting to get weird. No. I am starting to play MLB The Show again because I can't help myself. I just play Road to the Show, but I'm hideous, and I want to look good, so I make a face that looks nice. So I've not tried it yet, but it seems weird. Second, there's the voice crack. Second, did you make any last-minute eShop purchases before it closed for good? I'm bummed as it'll cost me more to play games I don't currently own on my Wii U, but that's life. I did not on the Wii U because I don't have a Wii U anymore, but I did on the 3DS. I picked up all the Game Boy Mega Man games. I picked up Fire Emblem Awakening. I picked up The Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds, and I picked up Mario 3D Land. And I know some of you are going to write in and be like, you could hack it and just have all of them. Y'all know my stance on it. I don't care if you hack it, especially once Nintendo doesn't make it available anymore. I believe in paying when I can. So I dropped a couple of bucks and just picked up some legacy titles that I'm excited to own. Rest in peace, 3DS and Wii U. I really did like the Wii U, but that thing was doomed from the start. Dylan Trader wrote in and said, Adam, have you ever gotten a fight, and how much did you lose by? Yes, one, and yes, I did lose quite handedly. It was in grade 8, I think, grade 8 or grade 9, and I'll be honest, like, he was my friend, but I was giving a portly friend of mine a hard time about his portliness, and I'm not proud of it. You know, I was 12 years old, 13 years old, whatever you are in grade 8, whatever. And he had enough and taught me a valuable lesson. He beat the fuck out of me. He ended up getting on top of me, and he had my hands pinned down beside him. Then he punched me in the mouth repeatedly. They thought I was going to get my lip stitched up, but I didn't. But I'm not justifying people punching each other in the mouth, but you know the saying, like, there's too many people that are comfortable these days with not being punched in the mouth for running their mouths. I learned a valuable lesson that day, and now I pick my spots. And yeah, I deserved it. I was making fun of him. I deserved it. So yeah, that's the only fight I think I've ever really been in. And then Sarah beat me up when I was like in grade 2 or grade 3, but fuck her. Mason Ocampo wrote in and said, hey, Adam, you mentioned that you're so excited for the new Ninja Turtles Last Ronin game that you would even play it on PC if it was PC exclusive. Do you have a PC, or would you have to buy one? And if you do have one, what does your setup look like? So I read this one just for the lulz, because those of you that don't know, I do have Okay, first of all, if you don't know, I am staunchly anti-PC gaming. And I'm not an anti-PC gamer. You all play on what you want. I just want everyone to be happy. I'm intimidated by PCs. I don't understand them. I find them frustrating. I'd much rather just pick up a controller and play. I have a Steam Deck, so that's where I get most of my PC fix now. But I do have a PC. When I started this podcast, all I had was a MacBook. And then I ended up upgrading to an iMac, and that's what I used to do most of my editing on. Make fun of me if you will. I'm not an Apple, card-carrying, flag-waving Apple guy. They're just easier for people like me that don't understand computers. But then I also bought an HP Pavilion gaming laptop, which was really good that I started to use for streaming. And then it started giving me problems after a while. So last year I invested in if you're asking me what the specs are, I have no idea. I bought a PC... And I don't even know if it says what it is here in the manual. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I had some friends that are PC nerds help me buy it. It's a black case with glass on the side, and it kind of glows funky colors when it's on. And there's a logo on the front that looks like a shield with a dragon on it, and it seems to work very good. I know that's going to just make some of you crazy, but I don't know. I'm sorry. I have no idea. No idea what else it does. But it's really nice. And that's what I use for my streaming and stuff. It's a nice computer. I don't really get it, but it's a nice computer. The Plow King wrote in and said, I have to say that name in the Barney voice. I can't not. Says, ahoy, hoy, blank. Hope your day is going well. This is going to be a Terminator Back to the Future scenario. I know you've seen Terminator. I don't know about Back to the Future. I have seen the Back to the Future movies. If current Adam could go back and tell younger gamer Adam, you can go back to when you were a small blank or even as recent as yesterday. What are 3 things you would tell yourself to do or not do that involves gaming? Obviously, we would tell our younger selves lottery numbers, stock options, etc. It has to be gaming related, and you can only visit yourself once. All right, so 3 things. I would go back to little Super Nintendo playing, just got beat up by Sarah Adam, and I would tell him, A, don't trust the Saturnians. You'll figure it out someday. I would tell him, B, embrace the Sega Genesis kids. Embrace them. Love them. Hug them. Because someday the console wars won't be fun. The Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis console wars were fun. Fanboys, fangirls today aren't fun. So I would tell him to enjoy it while he could, and I would tell him not to believe anything Billy tells him. Because Billy was the kid I knew that always lied about what you could do in video games, and I'd always waste my time trying to find the secrets that didn't exist because Billy's probably in jail these days. Fuck Billy. That would be the 3 things I would tell little Adam. Frost Eye wrote in and said, hi, Adam. I know you used to work at Uline, and I assume you still know some people there. I was wondering if you could hook me up with something. About 5 years ago, I spent $8 on an item. Since then, I get a 200-page catalog every couple months. Whose tires do I have to slash to get these to stop? There is no unsubscribe button from mailed catalogs. Yes, I did work at Uline, and for those of you that don't know, I actually walked out of Uline to be a comedian. When I was 32 years old because I got in a big fight with management because every year Uline forces their employees to film popular scenes from popular movies but using Uline products as props, and they insist on you putting the owners of the company into the movie, and it's so fucked up. And then they pay everyone overtime to stay late after work one day and watch all the other branches' stupid movies. And they wanted me to be in the movie, and I said no. And they my warehouse manager called me a disrespectful insubordinate in front of everyone. Like, he screamed at me, and he was like, when we're done filming, I'll deal with you. And it pissed me off. And when he came back from filming the scene, they were like, where's Adam? And they were like, he left. And I walked out, and I had never gone back. So I actually don't know some people that are still there because I burned that bridge pretty fucking hard. I actually left my uniforms outside on the front step 2 days later, so I would get my final check, and they got all ruined in the rain and the snow. Fuck them. So I don't, but yeah, those catalogs are fucked up, and I don't understand it. And I guarantee you, people listening to this know what we're talking about. I guarantee you some of you have gotten those catalogs. They're fucked. I want y'all to know internally at Uline, they see the comments from customers complaining about the catalogs, and they laugh at them and then throw the comments out. I promise you. They print off the sheet of paper, this giant stack of paper with all the comments from customers. They laugh at all the people complaining about their catalogs, and then they throw them in the trash. I'm telling you, fuck Uline. Fuck Uline. Jake Ashford said, hey, Adam, not necessarily gaming related, but if you haven't talked about it yet, what do you hope to see from the post-credit scene in the Mario Brothers movie? I want to make sure I make this clear before I make a prediction. As I record this, it's Tuesday, April 4th at 11:30 a.m. Mountain Time. I have not seen the movie. I have not seen anybody leak the post-credit scene. So if by some chance I get it right in this prediction, I swear on Molly's life, my dog, my most prized thing I could swear on. I don't know if I'm assuming there is a post-credit scene. I don't know what it is. So please don't get upset if I got it right. I'm not spoiling it. I'm guessing. If I had to pick what I think it'll be, I think Wario shows up. That's my prediction. For the sequel, Wario and maybe Waluigi, they show up at the very end. What I want to see is Sonic. I don't think it's going to happen, but you asked me the question, what do I hope to see? Sonic shows up, and we get a crossover movie. But I think it's going to be Wario and Waluigi. But I want it to be Sonic. There you go. Again, if I got it right, please don't yell at me for spoiling it. That was a guess. I don't know. I promise. And finally, before we move on, it's letter time. It's letter time. Eric Christian Powers Esquire wrote in and said, do you ever play games just for fun and don't bother mentioning them on the show? Maybe a Slay the Spire run once in a while. Not to sound like a jealous girlfriend or anything. I'm more just curious to see if you have any desire left to play for your own enjoyment after playing what you need to play to keep the podcasts rolling. I can't imagine a professional ice cream tester going home to a nice hot fudge sundae after a long day of work. Is it the same thing for you? Man, I think professional ice cream tester would be a horrible job. Like, you'd get so sick of ice cream. Fuck me. Yes, I do sometimes. I mean, admittedly, I would say 90% of what I play, both modern and retro, is for the podcast. Now, retro stuff is for Remember the Game episodes. Modern stuff is to either stream it or to review it on Expansion Pass. But yeah, there's the occasional. I play Slay the Spire sometimes when I want to chill out. Tetris 99 is a big one for me when I want to chill out. I played a ton of PGA Tour 2K23 and never talked about it. I play MLB The Show, and I don't really talk. I'm not going to review MLB The Show. I just like to play Road to the Show to relax. Yeah, so occasionally. It's very rare. It's mostly those. Mario Kart 8 sometimes. Like, it's mostly those, for lack of a better term, endless games. Like, just about anything with, like, a story or, like, I'm going to play it to review it. But, yeah, those are my occasionally. This has not ruined gaming for me at all. There's times where I want to play something else and I don't have time because I have to play stuff for the show, which is, like, a minute about it, frustrating. But then I remember that I used to work at Uline and I don't have to do that anymore. And I'm like, this is the greatest problem in the world. So, yeah, that would probably be the answer. Mostly sports games. Sports games or Slay the Spire, Tetris 99 are the ones I go to when I just want to relax. So thank you so much, everybody, for all the submissions, for blowing in the cartridge this week. We need to keep the show moving. So let's switch things up and get to our Smash Hit segment, the official game show of Remember the Game Industries. It is Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. Every week I give our listeners 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released, remake one as a modern game, and the third is erased from time forever. And as always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a right one, and we'll get to that in just a minute. And if you don't know, our Patreon polls, 2 months ago, we changed it up. It used to be I would take 8 games that people had said they want an episode about that I hadn't played. I put them in a poll. You'd all vote. Our patrons would vote, and the game that got the most votes, I would play. 2 months ago, we switched it up to a survivor poll where it runs for about a week, and every 24 hours, the game with the fewest votes is eliminated, and we start the poll from scratch till we're down to 1 game. And this month, March, we went with Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. And right out of the hop, it was a 3-horse race between Wario Land 3, Pokemon Trading Card Game, and Metroid 2 Return of Samus. And that was what the final 3 came down to. And it was a nail-biter right until the end. And to this day, there's still some blowback in the community. Like, some battle lines were drawn, and I don't know if they'll ever be completely erased. And Dr. Wario wrote into the show and said, "Dear Hot Dogs, I'm very disappointed in you for not putting over a Wario game. Metroid is a great franchise, but Samus over Wario? Like I said, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed." And I figured, let's close the chapter on this super controversial Patreon poll. Our 3 nominees this week are Wario Land 3, Metroid 2, and Pokemon the Trading Card Game. And 34% of you said play Wario, remake Metroid, and erase Pokemon. If you don't know, Metroid won the actual poll. Pokemon got second, Wario got third. So this is interesting that you're all voting for Wario. Let's see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'll tell you what the right answer was. WestGen wrote in and said, I'm going to play Wario Land 3 because I never have and people seem to like it, according to the Survivor poll. I'm going to remake Pokemon trading card game, but just make it prettier. It was and is amazing. And I don't need 90,000 cards with all these weird-ass new gen Pokemon. And then I'll delete Metroid 2 because fuck it for winning the poll. See what I mean? Like, it was like a third of the community was behind each of these games. And so now we're getting hate thrown at Metroid for winning. I love it. I love it. I love it. J. Rodimus Prime said, I'm a simple man who loves playing retro games, and Metroid 2 is clearly the best of these three, so I'll play it in all of its original splendor. I'm going to delete Pokemon trading card game because I never got down on that franchise, and as an outsider looking in, those games have spiraled out of control with far too many iterations, so delete the whole franchise as far as I'm concerned. Don't send your hate emails to me. Send them to J. Rodimus Prime. And then Prime said, remake Wario Land 3 so a whole new generation can share it in the joy. Peace. I mean, I can't bring myself to erase the Pokemon franchise, but fair enough. Devilio said, I'll play Wario Land 3 because I don't believe I ever have. I'll remake Metroid 2 because I love Metroid, and I'll erase Pokemon because, well, it was fun. That time has passed, so goodbye. People seem to like both, like, they're like, Wario's cool, Metroid's cool. Pokemon seems so ride or die. It's fascinating to me. It's interesting. Adrian Big Johnson said, play Metroid 2 because I haven't, and it's a Game Boy Metroid, so you know it's got to be good. Remake trading card game because it would be so cool to have updated Pokemon card generations, and erase Wario Land because I've never played it, and I hate Wario anyway, so he can fuck right off. I'm choking on my own rage here. How can you hate Wario? He's the greatest anti-hero ever. Oh, man. Adrian Big Johnson, you got a Big Johnson to come into my show with a fucking take like that. And Standard Ass Brian wrote in and said, get bent. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm going to go with the minority of you. I'm going to agree with 9% of you this week, including Adolfo, who said the only answer to this is to play Pokemon trading card game. It's the perfect micro universe for both going back to 2000 and the Pokemon craze and the beginning of card collecting, packaged in a good, fun, shortish game. I'm going to remake Wario Land, a superbly unique, fun platformer that can be remade into a sort of full balls-to-the-wall Metroidvania like Wario Land game. They really should do this. And erase Metroid 2. It is aged like milk and has been vastly improved upon by dozens of games, other Metroids included. I don't necessarily agree with your logic, but I do agree with your order, Adolfo. I myself would play the Pokemon trading card game because I never have, and I'm curious. I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated. So I'll play it just to learn what it's about. I'm going to remake Wario Land 3 because, and I want to make it abundantly clear, I didn't want to erase any of these games. I'm legitimately interested in playing all three of these, and I never have. I'm going to remake Wario Land 3 because maybe it'll kickstart a revival of the Wario platforming games. So I would do it just for that. And I'm going to very reluctantly erase Metroid 2 because I love Samus. I love Metroid games, but we've got a ton of them. And I can't help but think I could live without Metroid 2 if I still have Metroid Fusion, Metroid Dread, Metroid Prime, Super Metroid. I feel like I could get by without it. So I don't want to erase it, but them's the rules, and I'm a rule-abiding citizen. So thank you, everyone that wrote in to play along this week. As always, let me tell you what I've been playing. We'll get there in just a quick second. I need to pause for a drink of water and possibly a quick word from one of our sponsors. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs, and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. Okay, what have I been playing over the last week? A lot. I've been playing Earthbound Beginnings. Oh, that review's coming up in a couple weeks. The only reason that game hasn't gotten turfed by me already is because it's related to Earthbound, one of my favorite games ever. But Earthbound Beginnings is a fucking grind. I finished Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. People have been asking me if I'm going to review it. I don't think so. It's old. Most people that want to play it have played it. I liked it. Too much backtracking, but I liked it, and I'm super interested in Star Wars Jedi Survivor now. I've been playing Fire Emblem Engage. I just started it once I finished Star Wars. I've been playing Resident Evil 4 Remake. I'm taking my time with it, savoring it like wine. It is outstanding. And then I very slowly have dipped my toe back in the MLB The Show pool, just for Road to the Show, and as I was saying earlier, just for a game I want to relax with. I love the show games, so that's what I've been playing. Let's talk with Stuttering Craig. Let's talk Craig. Let's talk ScrewAttack. That's why you're here. As always, I like to give my listeners a chance to sound off about whatever we're talking about before my guest and I hog the spotlight. Rudolphin wrote in and said, Craig made both ScrewAttack and Game Attack everything that they were. Honestly, I dropped ScrewAttack when he left and dropped Game Attack when he left there too. As I get older, I have less time for this kind of content, but Stuttering Craig remains what I consider YouTube's most pure source of retro gaming and pure fun content, and I still love tuning in every time I get the chance. I like it. I like there was so many nice comments. I like that people enjoyed. I enjoyed Stuttering Craig's work too, so I like it. Straw Hat Luigi said, this may out me as being one of the youngest listeners here, but I remember being 8 years old and watching ScrewAttack videos on the Wii's internet browser since I didn't have a computer or a mobile phone as a kid, and always having to hit the home button when I heard my parents coming because they did not like the language used. Now I'm 22, and I still rewatch the old school Angry Video Game Nerds and Pop Fiction. I just remember they said Super Mario Bros. 2 USA was the 9th worst Mario game. I mean, I don't think that's the hottest take. I don't know where I did rank them all in Expansion Pass. I think that was our very first expansion pass. I ranked all the Mario games. I can't remember where I put it, but all right, fair enough. Tom Houlihan wrote in and said, ScrewAttack is the reason why I have an addiction to top 10 videos, and I'm okay with that. I get it. Top 10 was my favorite ScrewAttack stuff too. A Novel Console said, when he used to do side-scrollers, they had a conversation about Monte Cristos and Colt 45s. I embarked on a mission to find a Monte Cristo. I tweeted a picture at him. He showed the picture in an episode and criticized how healthy it looked. Best day of my life. I love it. That's a good story. I like that. And White Burrow said, not really a question. It's just a great set of memories of the ScrewAttack Gaming Convention SGC. Watching Craig try to conquer Mike Tyson until 5 a.m., conquered by the rare decision the next year, but also the next morning when he would premiere. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm kind of lost here. But also the next morning when he world premiered not only the DuckTales remake, but Killer Instinct that was just shown at E3 the week prior. Dude, I wish I could have gone to an SGC because apparently that was a big thing back in the day. I never got there. I don't have anything else to add. I never got there. But let's chat with Stuttering Craig. That's why you're here, right? I think I snuck it in just under the 30-minute mark this time too, which is awesome. We had a nice hour-long or so chat about the rise and fall of ScrewAttack, what he was doing after he left, what's he doing now. We talked slam ball. We talked about gaming today, and I hope you all enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed talking with the guy. I'm going to cue up some music. And when it stops, I will sit down and chat with the one and only Stuttering Craig. I hope y'all enjoy the episode. Let's go. All right, kids. So as I've been talking about for a few weeks now, this is a very special episode of Remember the Game. You're still going to get me rambling like an idiot as always. But joining me via the blank phone this week is a man that needs no introduction, but I'm obligated to give him one. Formerly of ScrewAttack, now of Side Scrollers, one of the all-time, I don't know if I would call you an all-time legend, but I think a lot of people know you. It's Stuttering Craig. What is up, man? How are you?
Just a dude who made videos for a long time. Had a little blip of success in a time before success on the internet meant a whole lot of money.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? And it's wild, dude, because I've been doing this for about 5 years now, and I've learned how hard it is to break through on the internet these days. Right. And I mean no disrespect to what you guys did with ScrewAttack back in the day, but that's where I'd like to start, because I want to know what it was like launching a site like ScrewAttack before everyone and every dumbass like me was making video game content. So I guess just to kick this off, for those of you that don't know, who is Stuttering Craig? What is ScrewAttack? Where'd you come from, buddy?
Yeah. So so I started making videos online in 2006. So I actually started doing a podcast in 2006 called Side Scrollers, and it was meant to be a radio show that I was like looking around. I was like, nobody's doing a radio show about video games, and started doing this radio show online. And realized later on it was called a podcast. So we had this podcast we started. It was me and my buddy Tom at the time, and that eventually became we needed a place to have the podcast on. So we had this we found this website. We were looking through domains, and we ended up looking through all sorts of different domains, and we ended up finding ScrewAttack, which is like, well, ScrewAttack makes sense. It's like a really powerful power up. It sounds cool, so that's where the domain came from. And eventually we got into just making videos, and our tagline, like, the original idea was to bring people to the website every single day, because at the time the internet was not a place where you found constant content just over and overload. It just wasn't social media.
Yeah.
So our whole thing was something original every freaking day. You're going to come to our website and you're going to find some sort of video from us or something that was different than what you're going to find on the rest of the internet. So I launched this website. I had my older brother create this like 3-frame like piece of crap HTML website. Launched with that, and just kind of started going, and had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah.
Just figuring it out as we went, and eventually, was like, well, if we're gonna make any money doing this, it's not going to be because we have a website. And that held true literally to the end of the website. Which is funny. I was thinking about that last night. I do not remember the end of ScrewAttack.com, the website. I don't know the day that the plug was pulled, and I was thinking like really hard and long about that. But either way, we'll get to that later. But eventually started creating like top 10 videos, and partnering with other people. Angry Nintendo Nerd at the time, who later
Yeah.
became the Angry Video Game Nerd, and a lot of like great folks who got their start on ScrewAttack on our .com, and we ended up selling our content. A lot of people know us from GameTrailers.com.
Yeah.
We spent with our content was viewed literally 1 billion times on Game Trailers, which was like just insane to think about at the time.
That's
So
sorry to interrupt, but like for
yeah,
you younger listeners, like that's a lot now. I don't think
yeah,
people can fathom how much that was back. Like that's 1 billion, a B. Like that's insane to me,
yeah.
man. I'm sorry. That's just
No,
mind boggling.
it was. It was. I remember like we had we were some of the first people out like making content at the time, and I think that obviously led to a lot of our success. And we not only were we the first out, we were different. We tried to be like the anti IGN at the time, IGN being like super stuffy and corporate and suits, and we tried to be the exact opposite: backwards hats and t-shirts and jeans, and calling people stupid, and just keeping it as real as you could possibly keep it in 2006. So we eventually kind of took off, and we ended up partnering with a lot of folks. We ended up getting into merchandise. Then later on, we launched our own convention a couple of years into it. And by the time we were done with the convention, we had like 15,000 people go into it. And we launched our own video games. And, then we ended up selling the company in 2013, a decade ago now,
Jesus.
to a company called Fullscreen. And that was like a really big deal for us in particular. And we had a really great run. And then I spent the next 3 years after that working with Fullscreen, and they also acquired a company called Rooster Teeth,
Yep.
which Rooster Teeth is not what it was, back then either. Worked with them for 3 years, and then I pretty much left and left there as fast as I could because it was miserable. And working with Rooster Teeth, and started to stream and stream for a few years. Then I left the industry entirely, and recently came back and realized that it's just as jacked up as it was when I left. So
Yeah.
I'm
That's
back.
wild, man. That's wild. It's fucking like, I mean, so like, I'm not trying to compare us, but I fell ass backwards into this as well. Like I make a living off this now.
Awesome.
And all I ever wanted to do was learn how to edit audio. Like I never imagined anyone would listen to this. And like you said, like you and Tom, like I assume, like correct me if I'm wrong, but did you guys launch everything thinking it would be like a career, or was it just something to do? Like it was just something to do for fun, right? Like,
so I wanted it to be a career.
Okay.
Tom was still working a full-time job, but like pretty much as soon as soon as we launched, probably 3 months in, I like quit my full-time job, and I was living at my parents' house. I was 24, 24, 25 years old. And I was like working on my parents' counter, and I was sending like cold emails to everybody because became real email, real obvious really quick that like I said, we can't make any money on the website. It just
Sure.
wasn't a thing. So the only way we were going to be able to make money is by selling our stuff
Right.
and kind of treating it like a production house for larger companies. So I spent like um, 6 months like sending cold emails to people until I finally got like a response saying like, "Oh, okay, who are you and what is this?" And we got our first nibble with a company called Game Videos, which Game Videos was part of One Up, which was a part of a company called Ziff Davis. But this guy Mark McDonald gave us our first opportunity, and he's like, "Cool, what do you do?" And I was like, "Well, let me show you." So I spent like 24 hours making our first top 10. I like scripted it and figured out all the assets, and essentially just learned to edit in 24
Yep.
hours. And sent him over this video, and he goes, "Wow, you guys work really fast." I was like, "Yeah, we all work really fast, you know." Um, and in that video, like went gangbusters. It was posted on all the blogs at the time, Destructoid and Kotaku, and I think it did like 250,000 views in a day. And
Holy fuck.
and at that time, it was like, "Whoa, my
Yeah.
god!"
Yeah.
So we got a second one out of it, and then I told you sent all these cold emails. Game Trailers originally was like, "Yeah, we'll pass," and then they saw those videos kind of take off, and they're like, "Hey guys, what's
Yeah.
going on?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was a really wild ride, being there early on, and essentially like having to learn the playbook. And I always say like I feel like I wrote the playbook. Like I
Yeah.
just kind of figured it out, and
Mhm.
it
Totally.
just kind of made sense. So yeah, it was really, really fun. It was a
It,
really, really great period. It was like perfect for that time of my life. I wasn't married at the time, no kids. So, which makes like what I'm doing now even more ridiculous. So
No, that's the dream. And that's what I was gonna say, dude, is like when I started doing all this editing and recording podcast, like literally YouTube can teach you fucking anything.
mhm.
Anything. Like I have fixed stuff in my house that like I should never touch because
Right.
you get try YouTube is it's the greatest teacher of all time. When you guys started this, you didn't have YouTube. So like
No.
like what the fuck? Like how did you have any idea how to edit or any like because I know you correct me if I'm wrong, but you went to school for journalism. Am I
Yeah,
wrong on
yeah.
that?
So
Yeah.
I had a degree in broadcast journalism, right?
Right.
And finished, and I had I edited on a MacBook Pro that I got for school that had a student copy of like Final Cut on it,
Okay.
Final Cut Express, I think,
Yeah.
and so it was like $99 for the student thing, and I was like, that was a lot of money back then, and still is, but. Um, and I knew like the basics. I knew how to cut, I knew how to paste, I knew how to drag and drop, and that's it. And that's why our videos early on looked as shitty as they did because we had no idea what we were doing. As a
Sure.
matter of fact, like I edited on Final Cut Express. Tom edited on iMovie, and
That's what I edit on. I love iMovie because I
right,
suck at this shit. So
right, and you can tell very early on, like it was crazy, man.
sure.
So
That's
it was
wild,
fun.
man.
Mhm.
Good for you guys. I always tell people, man, like I know it's a little different now, but like 3/4 of doing this for a living is taking the leap and making like doing your first video, teaching yourself, trial and error, learning. And like you guys, I mean, you said you spent 6 months sending those cold call emails. So many people give up, in a month. They're not getting a bunch of views or a bunch of downloads, and they're like, fuck it, this doesn't like you just gotta stick like was there ever a time where you were like, we're wasting our time here, this is stupid? Or were you guys like, no, I want to do this.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of figure it out. Figure it out. Like that's always been my thought, right? That's kind of how I end all my shows now. Is if you got a goal, go get it.
Fuck
And
yeah, man.
that's kind of how it's always been for me. Is
Yep.
is if you really want to do something, just figure out a way to make it happen. And
Damn right.
um, whether that's been screw attack or side scrollers or slam ball or whatever. You just kind of I don't know, just kind of set a goal, and then I put bullet points and how I think the best way to get there is, and then I just try to get through those bullet points, and hopefully by the time I'm done with those bullet points, we're there.
I love it. I
So
admire that, man. I admire anybody that's willing to take a chance like that because it's not an easy thing to do, especially on the internet. Even back in 2006, when the internet wasn't what it is now, you're putting yourself out there in front of the world, right? And you could fall flat on your face, and the world can. And like you got to just don't just ignore them. It doesn't matter what fucking anybody else thinks. If this is what you want to do, fucking just do it. It doesn't matter what anybody else fucking thinks. I respect anyone that takes a chance like that. I love it.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. So early on, there were like several conversations that were had that people just like. I remember registering the business, right, and telling people that we made videos online and our website and our business was ScrewAttack, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, so you make videos online and it's ScrewAttack, and I mean, that's where like our tag. We had another early tagline. It was not a porn site because so many people thought we were like a porno site, right? And then trying to explain to like nowadays you go, oh, I'm a YouTuber, people go, oh yeah, or I'm an influencer online.
I hate that term too.
Bleh. But those terms didn't exist then, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of like, well, we make videos online. So how do you make money doing it? I don't know. You decide. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
that's
I'm not sure yet either. Yeah, we'll get there. That's
Right.
the videos are plan A. We'll get to step B later. Let's make videos first. I love it. That's awesome. You mentioned the top 10s because that's okay. So I think I found you guys through the Nerd because I was watching Nintendo Nerd, and then like you said, like you guys were working with him. And then I started watching the top 10, and then to this day, I can still hear like I'm Stuttering Craig from and this is the top 10. Like I can hear that in my head. Is like, do you remember what that first top 10 was? Do you remember what the first? Which was it?
First ever top 10 was top 10 worst ways to die, and that was on gamevideos.com. And it's funny because that first call with Game Videos were like, "What do you guys do?" It was like I remember getting off that call, and I was like, "Well, let me circle back. I'll give you some ideas." I was like, "I'll talk to my team." Right? So essentially, I got Tom on a call with his girlfriend at the time, now wife. I think they're still married. I hope so. And then another mutual friend named Andy. And I was like, okay, holy crap! Someone actually responded. They want to know what we do, and we were talking about all sorts of ideas. We wanted to do like a game show. We wanted to do like a kind of like a Pimp My Ride, but for like living rooms and gaming spaces and stuff. We actually shot like
That's a rad
little pilot.
idea. That's a rad idea.
We had all these like crazy ideas, and then I was like, why don't we just do like top 10s? Like, why don't we just present like a top 10? And I remember the conversation like very clearly. They said, well, everybody does top 10s, and my response was, but nobody does ScrewAttack top 10s. And that's why when we started, we did, top 10 worst ways to die, top 10 douchebags, top 10, whatever. And we very rarely wanted to hit, we knew that like the top 10 NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis, whatever, we knew those would be there, but we wanted to have fun with our top 10s and make them, we did top 10 pussy ass bitches, like all these stupid top 10s. And we weren't afraid to call people out. And I think people like really enjoyed that. It was fun. So, first one was top 10 worst ways to die, and number one on that was in Wind Waker, at the very end where Link plunges his sword through the forehead of Ganon, and it was just the idea of like Ganon seeing the blade coming before like he looks up. It's just, it was now if we were to redo that list, there's a lot more worse ways to die.
Oh, dude, yeah. The Last of Us on line 1. I could think of 5 ways that would suck to die just in that game alone. Man, also shout out to the Wind Waker. I love that goddamn game. I love that game so much. Man, the top 10s. I love those top 10s. Are you guys ever gonna like? I know we'll get into what you're doing now these days, but like, you ever gonna get back into that, or do you think there's too many of them out there now? Because there's a lot of that kind of shit out there now.
There's a lot, but I once again. But everybody does top 10s.
Totally. I do them. I do them. Yeah.
But who does a side scrollers top 10?
Exactly.
Right?
You're Stuttering Craig, dude. If I heard that today, if I just heard I'm Stuttering Craig, I'd be like, oh fuck, I need to watch this because it's just a blast from my past. That's awesome.
Right. So I actually did like 3 traditional top 10s, probably about 3, 4, 5 months ago.
Okay.
And I spent when I came back in the space, I just made a lot of content that was that I was familiar with to see if I could still do it and see if I can get in a rhythm doing it. And the thing about the top 10s is it took me like 40 hours to do. It's a lot of effort to produce those things. So if I was to do it again, I think it would be some sort of like, I don't know. I would need help. I would need like an editor attached to it. That's, because it's a lot of work attached to it. So Yeah, I would love to bring them back in some way, shape, or form, but I think we'll need to get there in time.
Yeah,
It's going to
one
start
one
with the podcast, right?
sure, one step at a time. Yeah. No,
Mhm.
I understand that, dude. I'm telling you, man. People outside of the creation world, I think they look into it and they think like, oh, it's a 10-minute video, probably takes like an hour to make. And I learned that lesson the hard way. I'm like, dude, there is so much that fucking goes into doing one of these. I used to watch your video, like I would get drunk and then like when I get home from the bar and I couldn't sleep, I would like throw on these top tens or Angry Video Game Nerd and just watch these things. And now you look at it and you're like, fuck, that was a lot of work, man. You didn't realize it back then, but fuck me, that was a lot of work. I have a couple of questions from our Patreons too. I asked the guys if anyone
Yeah.
wanted to ask anything. Brandon DeZeba is wondering, how'd you choose the name Stuttering Craig? Where'd that come from?
Awesome. Yeah. So growing up, I mumbled a lot. I just
Okay.
kind of talk over myself a lot. My mom was always like, "You need to enunciate your words." I remember that very vividly. Enunciate. Um, so when ScrewAttack started, I had this. I interned at a radio station, and I was always a big fan of like the alter egos of radio stations, Wacky Bill or whatever, right?
Sure.
And I knew that when we launched that, like goes back to there's tons of Craigs, there's tons of Toms, but there's only one Stuttering Craig, there's only one Handsome Tom. And the nicknames just kind of stuck after that.
Mhm.
After Tom and I started, we brought in Ben, and Ben was in high school. So Ben was high school Ben. And, then there's, Jose. Guess what? He was a Mexican dude. So guess what? He's Jose El Mexicano, right? They weren't like super in-depth jokes or anything, but they were just kind of there. So as opposed to mumbling Craig, stuttering Craig just sounded cooler.
Yeah,
So
Stuttering Craig sounds crisper than Mumbling
yeah,
Craig. Yeah,
right,
totally.
right.
And that's not the only Craig handle. There's also Evil Craig.
Oh
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
I wanted to ask, because I am a fan of Evil Craig. So I wanted to ask you, where did that come from? And are we ever going to see Evil Craig again, or is he dead in the ground and gone forever?
Evil Craig is about as dead as you can get. He
Yeah.
he is dead. Yeah. Well, so here's the thing about Evil Craig is if you go back and watch those Evil Craig videos, they are so not funny at all. They are so stupid. So Evil Craig was funny because the reality was, I remember looking at videos and I remember seeing all these people like knocking off James, right?
Yep.
And the nerd. And I was like,
Yep.
there's so many parody. It's almost like parody of James. They're how bad they are. Um, and I was like, and literally it originated as anybody can do that. Like I'll fucking do it. I'll do it and I'll make it so stupid and say the most stupid things in the entire world. And you know what? It's going to work. And that's literally how it went. It was the most low hanging fruit content I've ever made, and people fucking ate it up. I can't
Totally.
like it drove me crazy because I'd make these videos literally. I mean, I would from beginning to end, I would make these videos in like 12 minutes. It was write down a bunch of stupid things that I would say about this game. I would maybe like watch a playthrough of it online, be like, that's stupid. Or I'd play the game for 20 minutes. Then I'd go in, I'd sit down on the couch, and I would just yell at a camera, and I would just say the dumbest, stupid things that would come off, that would come off my brain. And but it worked. And it's crazy because I get asked about Evil Craig more than anything
I believe it.
anything in my
Yeah.
career. And they'd be great for like YouTube shorts, right?
Sure.
They'd be awesome for that. Because that's essentially what they were at the time. They were just about a minute long videos. So
Yep.
yeah, they'd be spectacular for that. But like, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just a big old pussy now. I got married with 2 kids, and I don't want my 11-year-old daughter and my 8-year-old daughter being like, "Why is Daddy talking like that?"
I get it. It's funny for all of you listening that are comparing it now to Angry Adam, because it's not so I get angry on the show. It is not. I don't do skits. Like I don't do like a separate podcast of Angry. It's just when I'm reviewing a game, if something pisses me off, I get passionate. I love video games. It's different, but I understand what you mean, because people are always telling me like we want to see Angry Adam, and I'm like, it's not fun. Like like I understand people enjoy watching somebody get mad, but like I understand what you're like it. Like, do you feel that? Like, I'm like, it's not, I don't enjoy getting angry or even pretending to be angry. Like, I'm like,
Right.
I want to have fun. I don't want to be mad,
Right. And
you
and
know?
for me, I think the bigger thing is on top of that, it's not that I don't mind the character. I don't mind it at all.
Sure.
I think the bigger thing is this is gonna sound really, really bad, but like it attracts angry people. Like
Yes.
people get people who like, yeah, fuck that. And
Yeah.
like, I'm talking about, remember one in particular, I did one on Street Fighter 2, and it was so stupid. There on Chun-Li's stage, there's a rock in the foreground. And I remember being like, I can't pick up that rock. And it was so like such a stupid thing. But I remember someone be like, yeah, fuck that. You can't pick up that rock. And I was like, what? Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever said in my life. And the idea that I included this in this video. And I started to notice that, like, people would come in and it just attracted an angrier crowd. And it's like, okay, I don't really have time for that.
Yeah.
So I'm generally a pretty nice guy, you know? So
Yeah. And that was a while ago. Like nowadays, like the internet needs no prompt to be
no,
angry or fucking malicious these days. Like no fucking prompt at all.
no.
If you need any proof of that, Nintendo just showed off the first footage of Tears of the Kingdom 3 hours ago. Go read the
Right.
comments, and you'll like that's just the fucking internet these days. And I
Yes.
don't want to skip too ahead to what you're doing now because
Oh, sure.
we'll get into that. But we'll get there. But I did just want to. You and I were talking about this off air. I'm a big believer in positivity and enjoying this hobby and enjoy, like, that's why we play video games. You know, I know there are people that play video games because it's how they make their living, but even if I were never making a dime with this podcast, I'd still be playing video games like crazy. I just love video games, and I love to focus on the positive and talk about the stuff you like. And if you're going to be critical, make it like intellectually critical, for lack of a better way to say it. So I understand what you're saying. There's something about like when you're negative, and you've been doing this a lot longer than me. So I wanted to ask you about that. Like, you can impact your viewer base, your fan base, your viewer base, your listener base. And I try my best to have a positive environment, a positive community, and bring people in to enjoy it. And like, is that, you said that you kind of noticed some of the evil people coming, or the angry people coming in, but like, is that something you thought about then? Is that something you think about now? Like, do you think about how what you're saying is actually going to influence people that are watching or interacting with it? Or are you just kind of being yourself and they can take it however they want?
Yeah, I'll say this. I think that with any community, with you, with me, with pick anybody who makes anything online, it starts and stops with the head of the snake, right? And whether
Mhm.
you like to admit it, you're the head of the snake of your community, right? So, you set a standard of what you expect. Like I coach, youth sports, right? I'm very clear about my expectations of them, right? And they know what to expect. Same thing with the G2 community. I set expectations, and I don't want any dicks in our community. And if you're a dick, it's probably not the right place. Like,
Yeah,
we welcome everybody, but we're not here just to get upset and angry. Now, we can have great discussions. Let's have great discussions. But there's no reason to get upset or angry. Once again, these are games.
totally.
And
Yeah.
they are meant to be entertainment. And I
Yeah.
understand you can be passionate about your entertainment. That's fine. But they're still games.
Yeah. To me,
So
it's I've said it many times. Like, I could give a fuck who you vote for. I could give a fuck how you feel about. I'm like, when you're in here, I just want to talk. Like, this is the real world is everywhere. Like, I have
yeah.
an iPhone right here where I could read about any topic I want. I just
Mhm.
want to talk video games in here. Leave the real world outside. Like, let's just come in here and forget about it for an hour, because God knows as you get older, the world gets fucking heavier and heavier. So, I
Yeah,
totally
man.
agree with that, man. Oh fuck the fucking
Yeah,
new world.
that's what I'm really loving about what we're doing now with the return of side scrollers is we have this group of people that we just kind of mesh well, and we're not afraid to laugh at each other,
Sure.
and that's something that, like, people are afraid to laugh today.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
like, if we can give people an hour and a half break of just doing whatever they're doing, whether they're eating lunch or they're on running errands or whatever, they have us on in the background and they can just giggle a little bit, man, that's awesome. That's really, you know, it's exactly what we want. So,
100%, man. I don't know about you, but like to me, the single coolest compliment I can get from somebody is that like I was having a shitty day and you made me feel better. And I'm like,
yeah.
that is people don't understand how powerful of statement that is. That feels so nice. I get it.
100%.
Okay, so then we know where you were with ScrewAttack, and you're making the top tens, and you guys had the convention. Am
hmm
I saying that? Yeah. So like things were big for you guys. I don't mean I hope this question doesn't sound cold, because I don't mean it that way. Like, what happened? Where'd you go? Like, you guys were on top of the world. Why'd you leave? What happened?
Yeah. So sold the company in 2013, and that was mainly out of necessity. Like, this is the internet in the late 2010s, early 2013s, and money was not moving like it is today
Mhm.
online. Sponsorships were a very new thing. The idea of like live stream support was non-existent. So really the only way to generate revenue was for other companies to pay you to make their content, or have some sort of premium membership, which was kind of frowned upon at the time. Like I remember IGN had like an IGN Plus or Premium or something like that,
Yeah, I remember that.
and that was like really controversial when they came out with that. And we had we called it like ScrewAttack Advantage, and it was a horrible name for it, but we did that, and it was like, it was one of those things where it's like, how fucking dare you? Like, how dare you ask us for support? And what do we get out of it? And like, those are all reasonable questions. Like, what do we receive for our money? We tried to add like a really good value prop, but it was just too early, right? So in 2013, we reached a point to where like nobody's making any money at ScrewAttack. We're all like, I made $35,000 a year for the first, up until I think in 2013, I think I gave myself a raise to $50,000, and it was like, whoa, that's a big deal.
And I'm sure you're working more than like 40 hours. You're not working 9 to 5. Like you're right. Like
no,
it
this
is all
doesn't stop.
encompassing.
Yeah, it's literally all hours of the day. So if you were to break it down into like what I actually made per hour, it'd be cents.
Sure.
But it wasn't the point. I feel like we were doing something bigger, but it got to the point to where we got introduced to Full Screen. They were a young startup that was well funded. They were looking to make strategic acquisitions. They were looking to get into gaming. They reached out to us, and we started talking with them. It was like, okay, that makes sense. Oh, you can offer all my guys insurance? Oh, that's great. You can offer them a decent wage? That's even better. So that was like the big thing. So we got acquired by Full Screen in 2013. And then shortly after that, they acquired Rooster Teeth as well.
Mhm.
And then Full Screen was like, hey, you guys are in the same space. Let's play nice. So they put ScrewAttack with Rooster Teeth, which was a fucking nightmare. I know I said that earlier, but it was a nightmare because, it was a nightmare for me personally, going from having no bosses to having literally 7.
Sure.
And having people tell you what you should do with your brand, with your community, and when they have no idea who you what your brand is, what your community is. It was a mess. And so I spent my contract as part of the acquisition was I had to stay on for 3 years. So I stayed on for 3 years and left / got fired like right at 3 years. They did not redo my contract. I was not going to stick around.
Sure.
And about 6 months prior, I had started a brand called ScrewAttack. And ScrewAttack was meant to be a third arm to Rooster Teeth's like 2 other big gaming brands, which were Achievement Hunter and Funhouse. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to promote you. We're going to do all that stuff." And they didn't do any of that shit. And anyways, because they knew, like, they saw me stepping away from ScrewAttack to start ScrewAttack, while at Rooster Teeth, that's like a big win, because it wouldn't be a total like black eye for ScrewAttack, because I already left. The damage was done. So anyways, I left there and streamed with ScrewAttack for about 3 years. Then my business partner went fucking insane. And then I left to start a new business. And right as I was getting ready to launch that new business, I got recruited to be a part of the gun industry, of all things, the firearms industry. And it was like, I've never been a big I live in Texas. I've never been a big like firearms guy.
Sure.
But it was so different that I was like, yeah, let's give it a go.
Sure.
And they more or less, the original pitch to me was they wanted me to build what I did with ScrewAttack in the firearms space, and build like a crew, like a team of people, and have awesome videos and all that. And it like all that like went out the window like 2 weeks into it. So I stuck around like a year in that space, and then I came back in October of 2022, and kind of looked around and was like, yeah, this is real. Like, this whole gaming space, it's like hell. It's like it's so divided and gross.
It's disgusting. Yeah.
And I was like, we've been saying, like, we got to remove the stick out of the ass of the video game world, and that's like our entire objective. And to provide a little common sense and be like, no, you can't talk to people like that. Don't be a fuckface.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know if I can.
Dude, no, fuck, you have no fucking idea, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, anything flies here. Go nuts.
But yeah, so we launched Side Scrollers like literally 6 weeks ago. It's been awesome. Seen some really good success early on, and people have been like, "When are you gonna buy ScrewAttack back?" And it's like, Side Scrollers is the successor to
Sure.
ScrewAttack at 100%, and 100%. And I'm going to follow the exact same model. Like ScrewAttack started with a podcast, and Side Scrollers is going to start with a podcast, and we'll eventually get into making videos. And it's just a matter of kind of hitting the ground running. And but I'm excited, man. Like I feel like we have a really strong base. We're just like planting the seed right now. It's not even growing. It's just, we're just putting the seed in the ground. And, but I think things can move a lot quicker now because the internet moves a lot quicker. And I'm not starting with nothing. I'm starting with a Rolodex of friends and acquaintances from across the industry. So, people who do this. So yeah, man, it's really fun.
Good for you, man. I'm sorry to, I'm really not trying to turn this around and be like, well, I do that. It's just, I'm so new. I feel like where you were like 15 years ago, like I'm 4.5, 5 years into this and I'm learning and everything you're saying is just hitting home with me. The idea of like someone else taking over my brand and telling me like, I know what you could do to get, like this is what we should do for your audience. And I'm like, you don't know my fucking audience. Like I know that just sounds so, I'm a little bit, I'm happy you came back. I don't know if I'd come back. Like, and I'm not but I'd be so like, that would piss me off so much. Like, like to me, this is art. I'm an artist. I'm a comedian. I'm the art. I love art. I love being yourself and being authentic. And the idea of someone kind of just taking over and being like, you have to do it this way, like, fuck me, bro. I'd be like, you're being classy about it. I'd be on here fucking lighting them up right now. Like you're taking the high road. I respect that, man. That's fucking insane to me.
Yeah, it was definitely tough. And I'll tell you this, like after I felt really burnt after leaving Game Attack.
Sure.
I was just like burnt out of the space. I'd streamed really hard. We did some really cool things over there, but said my business partner went insane, and like all like I've been the bad guy several times in my career, right? When you have when you work with people who are public personas, anytime you fire somebody, it's big news, right? Well, why did you fire this person? Why did you fire? You're a piece of shit, Craig. And I've been the bad guy many, many times, right? I've never been the bad guy for just being a dude, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where I was with that situation. So I felt really burnt. That's why I think that helped nudge me into the gun space because it was like so different. And I really, really enjoyed my time doing that. But like I said, it just didn't work out. So, I told and the thing is, I told myself, I was like, I'm done making content online. Mm-hmm. And, but I don't know, man, it just kind of drew me back in. I honestly, I missed it. I missed the community aspect of it. I missed connecting with like cool, decent people. Sure. Cause I was doing this like at home thing, like long before COVID hit, sure. I was, sitting at home and staring at my monitors all day. I really enjoy the social aspect of gaming. That's like the biggest thing with me. So anytime I can get together and talk to people, that makes me happy. So
I like it. Did you find the gun thing like a little bit just a little bit of a recharge? You know what I mean? Like just get away from this for a little while, and then you're like, that absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yeah, I think that's the state. I'm so bad with phrases, but I think that's the right one. Like, cause I know when I go out and do stand up for when I'm away from stand up for a couple months, I'm like, now I got to go. I'm burned out, but now I need to go back to it. Like, did you find that like a little bit of time away from video games altogether, and you're like, fuck, I'm ready to go back to this now. Does that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, when I say I left. I didn't follow any news or anything. So when I came back in, I was like, oh, there's a PlayStation 5. Like I had no idea. Sure. I did it on the peripheral, but I didn't know anything about new games or anything that had come out. And so there's like this year black hole to where I'm kind of getting caught up on things that I missed. But it was refreshing to come back in, and it kind of more or less gave me a purpose. To kind of, and I realized that I'm fighting a big uphill, cesspool of shit. But I really feel like, I feel like the internet is a place that the best analogy I can give you is between Twitter and Facebook and all the social media platforms, YouTube. Did you ever see Neverending Story?
No, but I get shit for not seeing movies all the time. So I'm used to that. There's
this scene where Atreyu, he is the lead character in it.
Okay.
He has a horse, this magnificent white horse, and they start going across this like swamp, right? and this swamp is like, it's called like the Swamp of Sorrow or something. And it's the saddest scene in the movie where as he's making away this swamp, all of a sudden his white horse starts to sink. And the swamp knows when you have sorrow in your heart or you feel depressed or sad, and it slowly sucks you down until you eventually drown. And that's what happened in the movie to Atreus' horse, right?
Aw,
That I know it's the saddest thing in the world,
that's
but
sad. Jesus.
I know, bring it on down. But that's what I feel like social media is, that's where I feel like the gaming space is right now. Everything
Yeah.
is everything sucks. It's like, no, these are fun. These are fun
Z-
games. Like, so
Bro,
that, yeah,
if you guys go into war, I'm beside you. Like we are on the same page, my friend. This is
brother.
did you ever see Ghostbusters 2?
Yes.
Remember they have this slime and it's negative and they're like,
Mhm.
there's got to be some positivity left in this city and we can find it. That's what I feel like with gaming. I'm like, there is some positivity there. You just need to and it will find you. If you're positive, it will find you. I'm a big believer in that.
Brother,
'Cause-
you don't know this, but we are in a war, whether you like it or not. We are in the middle of a war right now. So
Yeah.
it's us against the world, man, for
I
sure.
feel it, brother.
So
Okay, a couple more questions from the listeners. I would like to plug what you're doing today, but I want
oh
to do
sure,
that at the very end because I want to
yes.
because I'm super stoked about what you're doing these days. So Astro Alpaca, I know I said it wrong. That's part of the joke. He said, "Did you anticipate the future of content creation back in the day, and would you have done anything differently if you could go back in time?" Which I was something I wanted to ask you as well.
Yeah, as far as going back in time and doing it again, I would say what's crazy is if I had to do it again, I probably held off. No, I wouldn't have. No, I wouldn't have done anything. Let's see. I think the only thing that I really would have changed is probably buying the game store. We owned a game store.
I didn't know
I
that.
yeah. I bought a game
Wow.
store and from a guy, and it was a total emotional decision. It was the only time I've ever done business emotionally where I was like, that'd be really fun to have that game store. So I bought it, and it was fine. It like broke even, but I saw where games were heading from a digital side, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, owning a retro game store or resell game store, um, in this market doesn't make sense. So we ended up closing it down after broke even for a few years, and but I would redo that. I definitely would have done that, but outside of that, not really. I, I'm all for the ups and the downs, and you take the good with the bad. And
Yeah.
we had way more goods than we did bad. Every day was fun, at least most of it. Um, I would say that I was the one who took most of the brunt with any sort of decisions, and I'm fine with that. If you're the leader, you got to deal with that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, as far as seeing the future of content, yeah, man, I think we were way ahead. We were
Yeah.
like way
You
ahead of
were.
it.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of folks say, we walked so others could run, and there's I think there's a lot of truth in that for sure. I don't think that ScrewAttack will ever get its due. It'll just kind of like be lost to the sands of internet time. Um, but I maybe someday some dude will make a documentary about it, and it'll have a 2 week window where people are excited about it again, and well, that was really cool. Like you see it on Netflix or something.
Of
But
course.
until then, I'm really happy with what we did, and I feel like you know we help set a culture
Yeah.
for a while, and that's something that's very hard to do. So I think it's neat.
Absolutely. I would say, I'll be honest, like my biggest inspiration actually was the guys that left IGN. Miller, Greg Miller, and those
Mhm.
guys that started Kind of
Yeah,
Funny.
kind of
I
funny, yeah.
respected what they did. I don't really listen to their stuff now, but I respect what they did. But also the nerd and also you guys. Like you guys were I remember when I was just a dipshit driving a forklift and going out getting drunk and then coming home and watching you guys. And yeah, you guys you don't give yourself enough credit, man. You said the playbook. You guys were at least co-authors of that playbook. I respect the fuck out of that, man.
Well, thanks, man.
Um,
Appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. Nate Robbins is wondering when you left, did your old, for lack of a better term, did your old teammates did they support you at all, or did they
No,
consider you competition and they were like, we got to
no,
squash him, fuck him?
no.
Yeah,
Like it's funny, and it has nothing to do with like the gaming. It has nothing to do with the gaming space at all. Like I've had no contact with pretty much anybody I've worked with over the past 15 years, which is crazy because I I fought tooth and nail for them
Mhm.
so they could be set up in a good place. I fought for stock during our transaction. Like I got them all. Everybody at ScrewAttack, I got them $10,000 worth of stock, which eventually vested out to almost 100 grand for each of them. Like
Oh fuck.
and that stuff, I would not do the transaction until each one of them got something on the back end. And I've received I got one thank you from the 12 people I fought for. And yeah, so like that's never really sat well with me.
No.
And then when I left, I left, like I I I I'm not political at all, right? But and
Same.
being non-political can be seen as being political now, apparently.
Dude, I had
Um,
someone leave the other day that said I was too political, and I'm like, I've never talked politics. What the
right,
fuck? I get it. What the fuck? Oh,
right.
go
So
ahead.
like
Sorry.
I
Fuck.
I have this thought process that like you should just like kind of let people be who they are and do
Yep.
what they do. And this, pretty much like my line is if you fuck with kids, we have issues, right?
Totally.
And that's like my thing,
Yep.
So but with that said, I apparently was not political enough for pretty much anybody I've ever worked with, um, and so now I'm blacklisted from them. So uh, good luck to them. And it's like hopefully eventually they'll break through their insane echo chamber and come out the other side and realize that not everybody is like them, and
It's
people, so
it's so fucked, man. I that legitimately infuriates me because I'm like, we're all 20 years ago, I didn't give a fuck what anybody thought. I just wanted
no,
to work with people I liked and talked about things I liked. And that was if I like the Montreal Canadiens and you like the Toronto Maple Leafs, we could chirp each other and then have a beer, and then that is it. And now it's just, you're right,
yeah,
it's the echo chambers and it's people surrounded by other people like them. And fuck that.
it's
That infuriates me, man. That's fucked up.
I knew literally, I mean, up until I left Game Attack, I knew zero of my staff or employees' political leanings. Why would I need to know that,
Who
right?
cares?
Who
Yeah.
exactly, who cares? So
Fuck.
so it is what it is. Like why would I need to know that stuff? It doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
I worry about what you bring to the table when you come into the office every day to day.
Yeah.
Um, but for some people it matters so much to them, and
Yeah.
it's like literally their identity. So like they're extremely boring people.
That's what exactly. Yeah. You fuck. That's, dude. I made a comment one day that I was like, not video games aren't politics. And somebody came at me and was like, everything is politics. And I was like, you're
Everything
wrong.
is politics.
You're
Everything is
wrong.
politics.
It's not. It's not. Okay,
Yeah.
so Candido says ScrewAttack was to my teenage self what Remember the Game is to me now. So this is such a cool full circle moment for me. My question for Craig is, what is one of your fondest memories from the ScrewAttack days? And what is something you wish you could forget? And then they said, my favorite memory is Jose running around in the snow shirtless while you kept praying for him to fall over, which
Yep.
fucking
Yeah.
sounds hilarious. So yeah, is there a favorite memory from back in those days?
Yeah. Yeah. From we did so many videos, it's ridiculous. But that one with Jose was really good. That's kind of an iconic early moment. Um, but probably my favorite one was never seen by the public. We had just done SGC, and we had 15, like I said, 15,000 people come through the doors. Right. At SGC, my thought process was we're going to give them an absolute hyper burn at the very end of the show and leave with a fever pitch and then be like, okay, the show's done, get out.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, like I want to come back, I can't wait to come back. And I remember, so we'd always finish with we called it the Iron Man of gaming. It was a big video game competition, and we always unveiled a new game. Like
Okay.
we had Killer Instinct for the first time playable at SGC, and we had Sonic 4, like all these games that like debuted for the first time at this like random convention in Texas. And I remember finishing one year and getting done with that event and just being absolutely, after 3 days, mentally and physically exhausted. And we shut the doors, we said goodbye, said thank you to everybody. And a few like community members stuck around that were like kind of close knit. But after that, we had a room that was 3,000 people that was totally empty, just filled with chairs. And we're sitting there at the stage and everybody just started crying. and we were just all exhausted, and because we knew we had done something really cool.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing about SGC was it wasn't an event that we hired anybody to do. Like we were the ones managing the event. So we were making sure that our guests got to where they needed to go. And people saw that. It wasn't like, let's hire this event production company to do this. It was like, no, we're going to figure this out and do it ourselves. Ben was the one running camera. Nick was, so it was crazy, man. So that to me really stuck out. And then we had a big like 10th anniversary party. It was after we had sold. Everyone came over to my house and we just kind of celebrated. So that was pretty fun. So
that's awesome.
But video standpoint, man, we had so many ridiculous. I mean, obviously we had a salsa eating challenge. We had anything involving food.
Yeah, you're a big eater.
Yeah,
right? Like it's crazy because you look like you're like a very fit. Like I eat like shit and I feel it in my body, but like you're a guy that likes to eat and you look good. Like you must work out a lot because you look fucking healthy for a guy that loves to eat. Like you do.
I look healthy. No, it's funny because we would do these. I can't do them anymore, but we would do these eating challenges and they always ended up bad. And now it's like we knew going into it, like we'll have a CC's eating contest and we're gonna eat. So somebody ends up like there's always a punishment. This one in particular. If you lost, you had to get hit in the nads. There's a lot of ball hitting as well early on.
That's just part of being like a dude in your 20s, though. That's just part of life. Yeah, exactly.
Now that's assault, brother.
Yes, it is. It's not funny. Don't hit us. Don't hit me in the nuts if you ever see me. It's not funny.
Right.
So I know we're coming up on 3 o'clock. I'm not going to take too much more of your time here, man.
Yeah.
Quickly, slam ball. How the fuck? Like, I remember watching that back in the day. How in the fuck? What is slam ball? How did you get into it? And Rob, you can answer these quickly. And Rob Mason is wondering, could it make it today? Could slam ball make it today?
Okay, so to answer Rob's question, slam ball literally announced 2 days ago it's coming back in 2023.
Fucking sick.
So they announced it, and they're going to do a season in Vegas. They're going to do like a 6 or 7 week season or something like that. I have not been approached about being a part of it.
Okay.
But I would love to be a part of it. Not as a player, but as something else. I actually texted the CEO yesterday about that. So slam ball is full contact basketball on trampolines. And it was on in 2002, 2003 on Spike TV. And it kind of whittled around. It was like the Feather and Forrest Gump. It just kind of went around for about 20 years and it ended up in China and ended up in all those sorts of places. And now it's like everything's getting rebooted. So why not reboot slam ball? So they finally got a reboot. They saw some investment and they're bringing it back. But how did I get attached to it? Well, same way as you. I saw it on TV the first season and I was like, holy crap. Because I saw all the promos for it leading up to it. I remember watching the first game. I was like, I'm going to play that.
Yeah.
And I remember standing there with Tom, like in his parents' house and be like, I'm totally in. So that was actually my first taste of like what the internet could do from a power perspective. I remember going on the slam ball message boards, like the fan site, and talking about, I want to try out, blah, 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 blah. And eventually the guy who ran slam ball, his name's Mason Gordon, he would go on this website, this forum at the time and be like, well, I'll give one of you guys an opportunity to try out. So I kind of campaigned and eventually I had an opportunity. They gave me an opportunity to come out to the tryouts in LA. And in between then I had been training like ridiculous, like I'm freaking madman, weights and basketball. But most importantly, I found a gym in Dallas that allowed me to jump on their like gymnastics trampoline, which is what they use.
Yeah.
So I got really good at jumping on a trampoline before going out to these tryouts. So when I went out to these tryouts, I'm this like 6'3" generic white guy. But I was like skying and everybody else was down here and I'm just like, flying up and doing flips and all sorts of stuff. And so I stuck out. And they liked my story. I was this guy from the internet who came out and he trained for 8 months and he wanted to be a part of it. So I eventually made a team. I got drafted. I was the last pick of the entire draft. Ended up getting drafted and played one season with the Bandits, who do not exist anymore. Who I guess nothing really exists anymore. No. And it was such a like I was the equity on that team. I was the lone white guy on the team, like I was the dude.
Yeah.
It was fun because the cast of characters in slam ball was a bunch of like cast-offs and never was. No, never was. Like I had the star player on our team was this guy named Martise Moore, and he passed away a few years ago. But he was a former ACC Player of the Year from Georgia Tech, who like this is a stud basketball player, but he made really bad decisions and he got caught up selling weed and transferred and got caught playing behind like Chauncey Billups at Colorado, and it was crazy. Anyways, he ended up selling cell phones at a local mall kiosk. So when they had an opportunity to play slam ball, he's like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like really good dude. I had a guy who was straight up drug dealer on my team, like straight up. Like I remember I stayed at his house in the hood, like late, and he's like, "Yo, dude, just be careful, man." Like,
Holy fuck.
and I remember going and playing ball. We went to the community center down in God, I don't remember the exact city, but it was like the hood, man. And I got the shit kicked out of me for like 2 hours by these dudes because I was the only white guy in the gym, and I remember just like, man, you want to talk about racism, dude? I just got the crap kicked out of me, and
wow.
But it was like it was an experience,
Sure.
and but overall, man, my time with slam ball was really fun, and I got paid to play a sport.
Yeah.
Not many people can say that.
Nope.
So I technically at one time was a professional athlete. So what's up?
I love it. That's fucking dude. It's funny. I remember watching that with my buddies back in the day, and I wonder if we ever saw you because I remember watching that and just like we were just laughing. I was like, dude, how are they like? My knees hurt just thinking about that fucking game. Like, oh my god, I can't believe you fucking played slam ball. That's so sick. Slam ball
man.
and the XFL, my two favorite fucking. I love both of them.
And they're both back.
I know, it's so sick. I'm so glad the XFL is back. Dude, it's been fun chatting with you. I want to wrap this up by talking about what you're up to these days because I watch you. I don't get to watch you every day because I record right around the same time you guys are on. But I have watched your stuff. I watch it on YouTube. I enjoy it. So we got a lot of people listening to this. Stuttering Craig, people know you. Where are you these days? What are you up to? Where can people find you?
Yeah, well, I just brought back Side Scrollers, the podcast. You guys can find me. Just search Side Scrollers Podcast on YouTube. You can find it. It's youtube.com/@SideScrollersPodcast. We are live Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock Central Time, noon Eastern. That's 9 Pacific. And for those of you guys living over in the UK, you can find us around dinner time. So pop on in, say hi. I would love to get to know you. It's meant to be a daily hangout for you where we talk games, and we're not all batshit crazy. We're actually, pretty normal people who just like talking about games and laughing at each other and having fun. If you are crazy, probably not the best place for you. But we have a great time, and I feel like there's an opportunity to kind of change the insanity around games, and we're going to do it together because, like I said, we are in a war now. It is war.
Damn right. No, dude, I mean, I found you guys a few weeks ago, and like I say, I've been coming back regularly, and you're exactly what I wanted to be. I just know I don't want to do politics. I don't want to do the fucking drama, and I just want to talk about video games. That's all it's supposed to be. It's just cool people talking about a fun hobby that we all love.
Yeah, just laughing, playing games, and just enjoying each other's company. And I think that's probably one of the biggest and most important things is we say over and over again, like, we're a place for common sense. And common sense is something that appears to be very lacking nowadays. And there's a lot of people look. I host a show with a guy named Adam Krigler, and Adam previously had been in politics for the past 3 years, but the reason why he was so interested in Side Scrollers is because we didn't want to talk politics. He's like, yes, 100%. I want to get away from this. And he has his political leanings. I don't care. Like we have a guy on our podcast that is, we got 3 dudes. We got a gay guy. We got a wonderful girl from Guam named Blabs, and it's like we're just people. Yeah. And people are cool, So
it's almost a forgotten art these days to just sit around with people and talk and not fight with each other. It's fucking insane. So, well, I'll make sure I put links to that in the description of this podcast as well, you guys. So go check them out. Big fan of what you're doing, Craig. Dude, I gotta say, like I say, I grew up watching your guys' stuff. I love the top 10s. I've always enjoyed what you do, and I'm really glad that you're back. And like I said, consider me an ally of you guys because I'm on the same page as you. We need to We need to fix this fucking hobby of ours. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to this stupid comedian from Northern Canada, buddy. I appreciate it very much, Craig. It's great to meet
Dude, it's
you.
awesome. We'll need to have you on sometime. I think it'll be super fun.
Anytime, bro. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode. Craig, dude, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to hook up with me and talk about your career in gaming content over the years and what you're doing now. And I'm happy that you're back in our ecosystem. And it was really nice to chat with you, man. So thank you very much for your time. And once again, everybody, you can find the links in the description of this podcast, youtube.com/@ the little A spinny thing, @ Side Scrollers Podcast. They record Monday through Friday live at 11 a.m. Central. And I will be there next Friday, April 14th at 11 a.m. Central, chatting with Craig and the rest of the crew. And it'd be cool if you could swing by, and hot dogs represent. Either way, check it out. It's a great show. I watch it myself now. And good dude. And you can also find him at twitch.tv/Stuttering Craig. So swing by, tell him Remember the Game sent you. See what he's up to these days. And of course, thank you, Craig, for taking the time to talk to me. But thank you, all of you, for taking the time to listen to the show, whether this was your first Remember the Game or your 243rd. I appreciate you more than you know. Thank you so much. If this was your first Remember the Game, 99.9% of our episodes aren't like this. Normally, we pick an old video game and we talk about it. And it's fun with my regular guests. And you can go back through our archives. There's tons of games there. New episodes go live every Wednesday. So check us out. Leave us a nice review. Old or new listeners. If you're not hating our show, I'm not sure what the reviews do, but I'm supposed to ask for them. So leave us a good review, eh? If you didn't hate this. And if you want more of these, patreon.com/Remember the Game. Subscriptions start at $2 a month, and you're guaranteed at least 2 additional podcasts every week. You can get up to 4, depending on what tier you're at. You can watch the podcast recorded live. You can DM with me. You can join our Discord. You can write in for shit to be read on the show. Some of it gets donated to charity, and you keep the bills on around here. It's just wins all around. Patreon.com/Remember the Game. And I'm on Twitch whenever I get a chance to get over there. Twitch.tv/Member the Game. Not remember. Member the Game. Just come by and say hi. Tell me why my nose sucks, and look at my beard, and we'll be friends. It's good times, all right? Oh, and I have a P.O. box. You can find the address at rememberthegamepodcast.com if you're interested. That's it. I got to get out of here. Thanks to Patreons, and move on with my life. So again, thank you everybody for listening. I will be back tomorrow for all of our Patreons with Expansion Pass 157, the highly anticipated Remember the Game Super Nintendo Entertainment System draft. So excited for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed as much as we did doing it. Game Patch will be on Friday, where we'll talk about the biggest news in the world of video games. And I'll be back a week from right now with Remember the Game 244, which will most likely be my Earthbound Beginnings review. All right, take it easy, everybody. Thanks for listening. Cheers. So long. Goodbye. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I could not puke up all the content I churn out every week without all of your support. The following people are at the senior executive vice president level or higher at patreon.com/Remember the Game. And as such, I am contractually obligated to thank them as quickly as possible. So from newest to oldest, this is the one that fucks me up the most. A huge thank you to Preston Dylan Tourette, Cody Thompson, Robinson Dick Whittled, Liquor Like Luigi, Philip Mamouf Wafarts, Picanat, Caesar, Plow King, Buy Me Bone Storm, Matt Zuntz, No Games, No Beer makes CJ something, Bula, Glooscappin, Super Nintendo Chalmers, Blobby Rogers, Devilish Saint, Brian Richmond, Sabin, Robbie Air, Jay Callahan, Adam Blank still hasn't reviewed Mario Galaxy, Shoeboxers, Agent Booty Pants, a Trio Wormwood, Raging Irish, That One Kid Josh, Mark Sneed, E-Man Trucker, Dill Pickle Rick, Fallen Snow Kiku, Tyler Bauer, It's OG, The Fiend, Ryan Colton, Brandon Helmheckle, Hired Goons, who? Beam Money, Mellow Yellow 8787, Ryan Maurice, Robbie DLC, Benjamin Atkins, Tristan Anderson, Faded Sufferance, Alexis Ramos, Sour Goat Face, Max Sandin, Frosty Bear, Lord Longrod Von Hugendong II, Digital Dave, Bcause19, Shorzy, Kevin Monroe, Dr. Nightmare 23, Naif E, Adam Martinet, Nick Creature, WestJed, Postman, Denton Van Zandt, Darth Skywalter, Solomon Soto, Mr. Papa Giorgio, Itchy Nutsaru, Lucas Valadez, Graham, It's the Bigfoot, Alex R., Ryan Perry, Pizza Dude got 30 seconds, Alexander Camps, Dakota Guy, Heman Demon, Works for Me, Knife Goes In, Guts Come Out, Kia Pup, Brandon DeZeba, Bobby Litton, Oh My God, It Froze, Chris Lovin, Zamatos, Cam Nelly 23, Quiet Place Queen, Burt Macklin, Trevor McKee, Mark But Not McHugh, Bulma Simp, Arctic Fission, Hitchy Poo, Michael Barjudina, Beef Dingleberry, Timothy Sabrinsky, John M. Watkins, Bud Lightyear, Musty Beetle, Maverick Marty, Christian Gabriel, Brian Neese, Timmy the Exuberant Turtle, Isaiah Squeak Nuts, Joey Mercury, Sleeper Hit, Colin Bollinger, Adam Fletcher, Nerdy Hybrid, Donnie the Dude Walter, Sam Carpenter, Drugs and Bad MK, Daniel DeVore, Matt Hamilton, John of the Adult Children Podcast, current Remember the Game Hall of Famer Mark McHugh, Dem Boys on the Roof, General Fury, Cody Richardson, Oroku Saki's Gardner, Chris Williams, Joe Stone, Timothy. I'm out of breath here. Kayach, Esteban Navarro, High Plains Drifter, Hego Waffle, Antonio Echeverria, Bucky the Beagle Herder, Scary Terry, Blaine the Hoagie Man, Wyatt the Surgeon Who's Not a Surgeon Rowe, John Jameson, a dude named Adam, Decoy Man, Fuzzy99, Dan Fusselman, Gabe, Stud Still Smash, DB Cooper, Sean Ramos, Evolva, Leroy Westrich, Thomas Smith, C-Spin, Beaver Boy, Laces Out Dan, Biddy, Thomas Childs, Jake Carter, Eric James, Ruben Elizal, Joe the Sandman, Phil Lencher, Jacob Adams, Mizuru, Steve Dalp, Jameer Williams, DBXJ, Ray San Wantonga, Stephen Parnell, Elijah Burns, Chugger22, Triple, Frosty Feet 492, Chris Dickin, Ballsack Teabagger, Jack Shepard, Holmes, Denzalo, Super Dad Bros Podcast, Poop Q, Just a Fish, Randy Barrage, John Woodruff, Tunable Power, Daniel, OT Plays Games, Captain N, Jeff Bergeron, Russell Aldridge, Donko 504, Titan 420, Squint, Joe LeBlanc. I was doing good, too. I can't fall off the wagon now. Or off the rails? Whatever. I can't screw this up now. Johnny CCDC, Wolf Magic 21, Doogie. Doogie. I don't know why. I almost said Doogie Howser for some. Now, god damn it. Andy Hudson, Sam Wright, Wolfgang Darren, Mercury 869, G9 PSX, Mike Maloney, Ryan Kitchen, Zay Donovan, Morgan A-Town, Nathan Trombley, Aaron Lawson, Scott Brooks. No One Cares, Dave Thompson, Angry Ticks, Fraser Burns, Jordan Andrew Wright, Chris Fleury, Doug Dorn, Slick Rick, Dan of DNA Gaming, Dave McGee, James Clark, The Keegs, Andre Sharonik, Joe Buck, and Makeshift Mallow Magic Money. Thank you so much for the support, everybody. Talk to y'all on the next one. Purple Monkey Dishwasher.